Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the From Center to Saint podcast. I'm your host for tonight, Alex Bird, aka the Birdman, aka Pastor Alex, aka Pastor Bird, aka the Center, aka all the other nicknames you can come up with. Here with some special friends of mine who are just worshipers, and we're gonna get into who they are here in a moment. But before we do any of that, let's take a moment and share the broadcast. I'm going to actually go on here. You'll see me look down every now and then. I'm on my phone. Let's make sure we share this on our regular pages so we can get as many people in here as we can. Tonight, this is Worship Now, where we're going to do some talking about current worship culture and just things within church. You know, all of us here on the broadcast so far have spent a substantial amount of time in church and in worship culture and have been fairly involved in things surrounding church and worship. So we're looking forward to this conversation tonight. We see things on social media all the time concerning church culture, concerning worship, and sometimes you just don't feel like arguing in the comments. So we just gonna go ahead and have us a good time tonight. Shout out to the homie Scott. I see you. We'll have you on here soon as well, Scott Flowers, who serves with us at Love Center Church, Melbourne. Um, so I wanted to say before we get started, I just wanted to give everybody here who's on with us their kudos. I don't know if I've ever told you before, but you're here on the broadcast with me because I can say I trust the space from which you worship. You are people whose worship I trust. I don't know if that sounds strange to any of you. Hopefully it doesn't. But, you know, when you really think about worship leaders, there are some people who have become professionals in the body of Christ. Um, but there are still some people who are, you know, genuine in what they do and they serve and they. So when we did this first one, I wanted to get people who not only worship professionally, but worship from a place of intimacy and personal relationship that leads the people of God in ways that just make all the difference. And you can see it, you can sense it, you can feel it when you're in worship. And all y'all at some point done made me ugly cry over in the corner in somebody's church service. So I appreciate all of you. Veronica done made me ugly cry several times. Nisi, I have to keep it together for her because most of the time I'm on bass if she's visiting with us. But if she got her own band, I'm ugly crying with my hands lifted facing the wall. Trent, I think I hit the floor last time I came over to Tampa. Uh, so, yeah, we're going to have a good time tonight. Just to get us started, I'm going to be petty. And because Trent is my cousin, I got home court advantage with him. So I'm going to give you this first question. With Christmas coming up, I've got to ask, is Emmanuel first, second, or third on your set list?
Um, that's hilarious. But so yeah, no. Okay, see, I'm already about to get long. Never mind. So no, Emmanuel will be I believe it's our outro for this Sunday. They're gonna get it for the outro. So right before we give the benediction, the people are gonna get Emmanuel. I got hate messages when they saw that I did not include it in the set list for the month. So whereas some churches do not like Emmanuel, my church is not one of them. They love it.
Okay, so look, I already told y'all we probably gonna jump around a bit. So before I play around with y'all a little bit. I noticed you said you don't have it in your set list for the month. So as far as worship goes for you as the leader of worship in your church, your set lists are the month in advance or week to week, or how do you administrate that typically?
So I typically send out my set list for the month with the schedule of who's singing whole nine. Now let me be honest. Let me go ahead and give this disclaimer. The people at the previous past two churches where I served at are offended that I now send out set lists for the month, because one of my teams, they used to get it on the Saturday before Sunday morning came. Now let me disclaimer: all of them were worship leaders, all of them. So they could just pick up, learn parts, whole nine. But so I send out so in this position I'm currently in, my friend before me, who was the worship pastor, he used to send out a list of songs for the quarter. Now that wasn't an exact set list, but it was kind of, these are kind of the songs that we're gonna, play around with. I saw that and said, "There's no way in the world I can do that." So I asked the Lord to give me a month, and so we sent it out for a month with the asterisk: service subject to change due to the move of the Holy Spirit. So sometimes we go all off that script, like last week. It was a good week too.
Now you said with that asterisk. Now I got to admit that I have some insider information from one of my other co-hosts by the name of Patrick Williams II. And one of the leaders on here has been known to operate primarily on the asterisk. And he told me to make sure that we get that in here. So Nisi, come on off mute. Come on off mute, Nisi. And even before we get to you, I want to say what's up to a couple of the homies in the chat, to Jay and to Meacham Clark. We want to say what's up to y'all, two more awesome worshipers that we have on with us tonight watching.
We got Meacham Clark on?
Yeah, I feel special.
Oh, the bishop.
I feel real special.
Yes.
So speaking of the asterisk, this one wasn't necessarily on the set list that I sent you, but I'm gonna put one of your moves on you.
Oh God.
How often would you say as a worship leader you're able to stick to your set list, and how often does God just take your little set list, ball it up, and leave it in the rehearsal that you practiced it in?
Tell the truth, Nisa.
Oh really, Veronica? So I don't know. It's just been crazy lately. Okay, so as a worship leader, I just think that our job, we know what our job is, and that is to take the people into the presence of the Lord. Whatever it takes, we have to do it. And so lately, God has placed me in atmospheres that are not quite where they need to be. And I am that type of person where I refuse to just do a set list just because it sounds good, it looks good, do my 2 songs and I'm off the stage, or I'm off and I'm gone and nothing has changed. So if I be honest, lately I have not been going by the set list, and it's not because intentional. It's not being intentional. It's really like legitly we will go over songs, we'll put them out, what we're going to do. I may change one here or there, but then the Lord will send me another way. And sometimes the atmosphere can be so bound and it's hard to even open up your mouth to even start the intro of the song. So I can't work like that. I can't. But at the end of the day, before it's all over with, my goal and my desire is to get the people where they need to be. And I don't care what that is. I don't care if it's a hymn or if it's a chant or whatever it is. We go get there some way, somehow. So it's been happening a lot lately. But don't be doing me like that. I have intentions on singing the set list. It just goes.
I think, and to be honest, excuse me, I think that God's really upsetting the apple cart of what we've gotten used to doing.
Yes.
By habit anyway. I say all the time in other conversations, I'll even apply it to worship, that we can't have endured a pandemic and a shutdown the way we did and think that we should just either go back to doing things exactly the way we did them before, or think that there's not another level that he's taking us to. And sometimes in worship, what I've seen lately, even in me and Veronica's ministry, Love Center Church Melbourne, is that our plan will just get so utterly wrecked that only God can get glory for what we're doing, because we'll just be playing something like a little intro cadence from prayer that will lead into a spontaneous song, and that spontaneous song will take us throughout worship. And there was even one time where there was a spontaneous song we were doing, that was the whole worship set. And that was pretty much it. We had to practice our little intros in the band, all our little transitions. The program was all lined up, and all of that just got balled up and thrown out. So we're not faulting you for your asterisk. We're gonna give you some grace, and we're gonna tell Patrick to leave you alone.
But you know what, Alex, like you said, it also steers from intercessory prayer, and we're not even gonna go into that. But if the intercessor is on point, it just makes it easy to glide right into it. And a lot of times, sometimes you go to your set, and you know what? I heard someone say, if you don't talk to yourself, you crazy while you up there. Okay. And I have to talk to myself and say, am I going to make this hard on myself? Or can I make this easy and just jump in the river? That's it. Point blank, period. So we just go jumping. And lately, I don't have time to be pushing. I'm just going to jump in, and I want the people to go with me. And so I can't take them somewhere I haven't been. I know what it feels like. So I'm sorry.
You don't apologize. And look, y'all done stirred. Now see, Josh in the comments being funny, talking about some Alex sound a little stirred. You finna see exactly what stirred sounds like. Trent, come on, I seen that hand go up.
Yeah, man. Listen, this is, I can stay here all day. So one of the things that catches me is, first of all, one of the big things I've been talking to people about is, what is your worship culture? So you have to know the leader, and you have to know the house.
Yes.
And in many ways, especially if you are an itinerant worship leader where you're not worship leading in the same place, it takes an extra level of sensitivity to know where you're going. But watch this. It's knowing where you're going, but realizing that your only goal is to get them to follow you in leading, in worshiping God. Right? We got to minister to the people. And so, Nisa, you hit it. And this is the way I explain it. Worship is a river. We all find the flow, and we all jump in. We don't swim up.
What's your cash out?
We don't swim sideways. We literally find the river of God, and we just jump in and flow where it goes. And as we were talking, some people, God works in my preparation. He does. I promise you. One thing that I've learned in the process of now sending out set lists for the month is that if I really, really intently am seeking God and spending time, watch this, in my word and spending time with my pastor, he and I have so many regular conversations that even if we do not plan the music to fit his sermon, the music matches his sermon because we're on the same page spiritually. And it made me think of the story of when Moses struck the rock. I promise I'm not preaching. Give me 20 seconds and I'm done. What we don't realize is there were 2 times in scripture where God told Moses to do something with the rock. The second time he told him to speak to it. The first time he told him to strike it. So what we actually see is when Moses struck the rock the second time, it was Moses ended up being chastised because of his disobedience. What happened is Moses decided, I'm going to stick to the script. I'm going to stick to the set list, and God said, do something different. And so I struck the rock and it worked last time, so I'm just going to strike the rock this time. And God's like, no, I want you to go a different route. Watch this. The water still came gushing out of the rock. So the people still got what they needed. And Moses ended up not being able to see the promise. And so sometimes we think God is moving through us, and he's actually moving in spite of us because he has something that he wants to release to his people, and he's not even going to let us get in the way of it.
All right. See, now I was going to try to ease us in the direction, but y'all done already jumped in the river. So I have no choice but to go with the flow now. Veronica, come on off mute. We got to get you in here. Just dealing with approach. I want us to come back. I definitely want us to come back to striking the rock versus speaking to the rock, because I think that's something significant that we need to cover. but just dealing with your approach to set list building and just kind of evaluating the worship culture. What goes into the process of picking your set list for the week or for the month or for a particular event?
So for me, I usually go. I'm a week. I don't know how y'all do a month, but I go by a week because God will tell me something Monday and then turn around and tell me something totally different on Tuesday. So I go on a weekly basis. But it's usually prayer, fasting, my Bible studies, and my car rides to work. I can literally be listening to something and God be like, "Hey, this ain't the song I want you to minister. Here go another one," and I'll put it on, and like he'll literally give me all 3 songs right there. And then when I listen to the flow, why am I in the car boohoo crying on the floor in the parking lot? So for me, being prayed up, fasted up, always seeking him is like top tier when it comes to the flow, picking yourself. And I don't lead every Sunday. I have the luxury of having 2 other worship leaders, hey Scott, hey Michelle, on my team. So, and I tell them the same thing: pray, fast, and ask him for guidance, because he's going to literally tell you exactly what is needed to be ministered that coming Sunday. And if he switches it up on that Sunday morning, switch it up. So
awesome. So I've got to get somebody in trouble.
Ooh.
And it seems like it's back on you, Nisi, because Trent gave us the example and Veronica just answered the last question. So I want to ask, in any of your experiences as a worship leader, have you found yourself kind of battling with, and you don't have to go into specifics, but battling with a leader from a pastoral position or from somebody who stands between, say, you as the worship leader and the pastor? Like if there's a director or something, do you find yourself embattled between somebody who from a worship sense wants you to strike a rock that God has instructed you to speak to?
I haven't experienced that, because I try to evaluate or take a glance of where I'm going or where I'm at. I always tell people, you have to know your atmosphere. You have to know the church that you're going to or the church that you're currently serving at. And so, like, for example, I take a look at Trent's reels. I feel like I can sing just about anything. Okay. Right. But then I may go to a different church and I look and I say, well, that may not be the song. They may not respond to it. Let me try something different. I've never really experienced that per se from the director per se, because I'm like this. If you book me or you ask me to come, then you trust me. I'm sorry. So trust me that I'm going to go the correct route that God is leading me to go. Have I had a pastor say, you missed it? Yeah, I have had that happen to me before. And then so what I'll do is say, let me look at it. Let me think about it. Well, sometimes did I miss it because it wasn't where you wanted me to go, or did I miss it because I wasn't led at all? Help me understand. So I've never really experienced that per se, because I try to evaluate prior to getting there. I guess I'm an itinerant worship leader. So I try to do that before. So no, I haven't. And then honestly, I going back to what Trent was saying, let me tell you how I know, like, when you're led by God in that case. This is a testimony. Literally I had a set list. They went over the songs and sound check. I get up there and I'm exalting, and service went another way. I could have easily ended that. I could have went to my set of hits, said hit that click track and let's go. The Lord told me to turn around and tell the praise team, I got you, you get what you need. I turned around and we are worshiping. The people of God are getting what they needed, not knowing that one of the praise team members in the back, her son had just been killed and shot, and she had no idea. Nobody had told her yet. But because I obeyed God and told him and he told me what to do, I ended up taking her into the presence of the Lord to give her the strength that she needed to endure what she was about to literally face when she got out of church that afternoon. And I began to cry, and because it just goes to show you, when you obey God, even in worship and even as a leader, like, it changes lives. It takes us into realms that we're not even, sometimes we don't even know that we're touching at that moment, and people's lives are changing and you don't even realize it, but it does. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I guess I asked because one of the things that I see worship leaders and even other people who serve in other capacities kind of wrestling with is some of the tug of war that happens when you have a direction that seems either countercultural or counterintuitive to the house that you're serving in at the moment and the direction that God is going in. And I think that that tension is something that we could all learn to navigate a bit better with examples like what you just gave. Because to the average person that's listening, or to the average person that's worshiping, usually their culture may have them accustomed to going this way, but the Spirit of God took you another direction because there was a greater need. So I would ask you, even Trent, would you have a similar experience of that nature, that you could give us an example of where, say, you made or God made an audible that might have put you in a position of being uh, countercultural to the worship atmosphere where you were, but accurate to what God wanted for that particular moment?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer that, and then I'm gonna scroll back just a little bit. But, dude, this is what's funny. I did it for 9 years, every Sunday. Huh? Yep, 9 years every Sunday. Um, Not that I was going against what the leadership wanted, but I came in with new leadership, and the culture of the church was not conducive to where God was lead. The culture of the people who were there was not conducive to what God wanted to do. And it created, when I say it created a tug of war every Sunday, you would literally watch. So what happened is, you had a group of people who were existing already in the church, right? Been members for all these years, whole nine. They wanted to grow. They wanted to see their church back flourishing, but they didn't want to change. So then you have new worship leader, new choir members, new pastor, new direction, bunch of folks join under them. So you would literally have, it was literally basically two congregations in one building. And the war that ensued every week. So I'm talking 2013, 2014, I'll give it that, the heyday. You Are Good by Israel is too contemporary for some of them. I'm like, this song was written almost 20 years ago. Too contemporary. And it created this, if I can be honest, I actually had to war within myself, because it messed with my view of my effectiveness as a worship leader. to be in that type of setting where I know that God is using me. I know this is what God has called me to. But this is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And am I clear now? I'm sorry. This is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And for some reason, I am now feeling like my worth as a worship leader is not where it needs to be because of the criticisms of the people I'm supposed to be leading in worship.
Wow.
I think the problem is so often pastors, church leaders, I'm gonna put this on them first, is we don't ask the right questions when we are hiring or bringing in worship and music personnel. We're typically looking for talent and ability and not spiritual kinship, right? So you want them because you've seen the video of them, you've seen the way they lead worship, you've seen the way that they play, but you haven't asked yourself, is who this person is at their basic fundamental level conducive to the team I'm trying to build and to the direction I feel God is taking my church? Because a lot of times, if you think about it, the schisms with worship leaders, worship pastors, and the lead pastors and people over them is because I basically hired somebody because I like their gift, but I never really found out who they are. So, for instance, even the church that I'm at now, I've been here for less than 2 years. I was kind of told what the expectation was from people at the church. This is kind of how the pastor likes things. This is kind of how things flow. Well, my first Sunday, one of my good friends, Melissa Bethea, was there leading worship. I was not leading. I literally came to observe the worship service. And I mean, Melissa, if you've ever seen Melissa Bethea lead worship, I mean, Melissa is singing scripture. She done took her shoes off. She on the floor. She got people coming to the altar. My pastor took us out to dinner to welcome us. And I asked him, I said, what did you think about that worship atmosphere? He said, I absolutely loved it. Oh, do you? Would you like that kind of atmosphere every Sunday? Of course I would, but that's just what Melissa does. Okay. But it was that me asking that question, knew then, okay, cool. If that's what you really want, these are the liberties I can take. And now we have a point where I can always refer back to and say, this is what you asked me to do. Now, if you decide to change what you want to do, then that's perfectly fine. But in general, I think people who have been kind of watching what's happening in our worship at our church is on a fundamental level where I am as far as my worship culture and who I want to be is matching with where God is taking our church. So the people, we have huge demographic span. Like 30% of our church is over the age of 70. And then another 30% of our church is under the age of 40. So, and everybody's experiencing God because all of them are open to where God is leading and the direction that God is leading me to do it,
So just kind of dealing with that direction, and Veronica, we can take it outside of the church you serve in, whether it's when you're on tour, whether you're leading or supporting, or whether you're just on stage leading from week to week. Would you say that the worship cultures in the body that you've experienced, are they exhibiting a level of that same openness to a shift in the direction that God is taking the body? Or do you experience more of we want the same thing that we've been fed and we're accustomed to?
I feel like it's we want the same thing every Sunday. And I mean, that's fine by all means, but at what point are we going to shift with where God is trying to take the church? At what point are we going to not be okay with the same old thing every single Sunday? At what point are we going to be okay with jumping in the river and going for broke? Because as a worship leader, that gets tiring to worship leaders when we're doing the same old thing every Sunday. Us as worship leaders, we're creatives too. We want to help create an atmosphere where you can be free. We want to create an atmosphere where you can go for broke and nobody's going to judge you. But at what point are we going to get out of the standard and be free?
And we want to just offer you a little bit of encouragement, because someone who watches you worship often, who we just had on last night, Chevy, says that she loves the way you worship. So what you are doing is working, even if you do see some resistance. But I would direct that same question to you, Nisi. Are you experiencing more of a freedom, more of a jump in the river in the spaces that you've been in, not just at the churches you serve in, but as you tour and do uh, different churches or different worship nights? Are you seeing that shift kind of happen, or are you still experiencing that? Do you have like a favorite song that you do that they want to hear every time they see you?
So the first question, the first question, I'm gonna say I see it both. I see both sides. Okay. That's the honest answer. Number one, you have to look at the demographics and the area that you may be in. And sometimes I go to a church that they're still the same way. So I know which route I have to go. And then I decide if I want to do this. Like, I decide if I want to accept, because I know where God has placed me in my life and the season that I'm in with worship. And so I have to kind of navigate and say, am I led to go here to do the same thing over and over because the culture is not there of freedom to worship? Or do I want to go and use my time to serve somewhere where there is freedom? Now, lately, I choose to go where they ready to jump in. Okay. So that's where I'm at. But when I do go places, I don't I try to, again, look at what I'm working with, because okay, so my vocal arranger, Jay Cleve, Josh, and Veronica, they're always challenging me to do these new songs, these different songs. Like, they were challenging me to do what's the song we were supposed to do? I Thank God by Maverick City. And so I was nervous. Yes, get up out of that grave. So I was nervous. Y'all don't understand. I was so nervous about doing that song because it was a little different than what I'm used to. I'm used to a drive, but we were able to find a version that could kind of help me with that drive. But even then, but I think also it goes to being in tune with the Holy Spirit from the moment that you wake up that morning, the weekend of the event, the day before the event, the morning of the event, because you'll gotta give you something and show you, like, today is going to be different. He will prepare you for that day. And literally, I was about to attempt this new song that I was already afraid of, but I was willing to go for it, and shifted the whole service. And we had to literally jump in. But I felt something was going to be different that day. I didn't know if it was going to be my song choice. I didn't know if I was going to have to switch songs. I didn't know if I had to go a different route. But I knew that in prayer and just seeking God that morning and that weekend, really, I was more so like, something's different is about to happen. So I'm in that place where I just kind of decide if I really want to go to the same thing. But then if I do go, you're not going to change who I am. You're not going to change the worshiper who I am. And so I'm going to go how he tells me to go, and we're going to get there somehow, some way.
Man, let me tell you, when it comes to I Thank God,
Yeah.
the first time I heard it live, they were doing it at Trent's church when I went for his first Sunday over there. And by the time Hell lost another one, I was free. I was look, I was set free, and it was pretty
That
much
song
over.
drives. It really hits. I don't know what version we were gonna do.
It was the Brandon B, the anthem music version that you sent us, Alex.
And so yes, and so what happens is, Trent, the reason it was changed because where we were going, it had a little church to it and a little drive. And I needed that. Like, I needed that for me. And then I needed that for the atmosphere that I was going to, the church that I was going to. And so, I don't know that thing and I still haven't sung it yet. But I'm going to sing it. I promise you. And when I sing it, we go look. I want to be on From Sinner to Saint. I wanted to.
We'll do a special broadcast with the whole news.
Yes,
they got a setup on here where I can make it look like I'm doing the news broadcast, and I'll be like, "Look, breaking news. Hell done lost another one. So at least he got free."
So
you're right.
you talking about doing it your own way. I have never done the get up out of that grave part of that song ever, and we sing it all the time.
Really?
Listen,
you don't understand. Hell was losing another one for about 7 minutes, and I was getting lost with him.
Because you could get real full off that Hell lost another one because you just thought about yourself.
And you talking about churching it. So one of them times we messed around and started vamping, I am free.
I am free. I am free.
And it just the church bumped. Like literally.
Yeah.
Again, that's the spontaneity of it. I have a thing I tell our team. When we do rehearsals, we don't practice our set list. We practice scenarios.
Good. That's good.
So this is the scenario we have planned, but it may change. And
can you dig into that a little bit more, because I see we've got we've got a lot of heavy hitters in here tonight. I see some people. I ain't gonna shout everybody out right now, but can you speak to practicing the set list versus practicing the scenario?
So I'm gonna be honest. In actuality, we are going to practice every song that's on the set list. But when I say we practice scenarios, I try to teach my people that. So first of all, in rehearsals, I try to teach our people that even rehearsal is worship. So be open to hearing what God wants to do even in our rehearsals, because we have had moments where, watch this, I put a song on the set list and it was really for us for rehearsal for Tuesday night, because deliverance happened in rehearsal, and then Sunday morning came and it was like, this ain't hitting like it hit Tuesday night. But it's one of those things where it was like, no, God was like, no, I had you put that on there so y'all could get what y'all needed that Tuesday night. And so then I had to switch songs. But what ends up happening is, so for instance, in my I tell my band, my singers, everybody who knows me knows, learn the record, but just know you're learning the record because we're going to deviate from the record. If the Lord wanted me to be Israel Houghton, I would be Israel Houghton. So we're not doing In Jesus' Name the exact same way he did it, period. So what happens is I will literally go through the spontaneity of what I feel God doing on that Tuesday night. It may be a tag that we end up adding for Sunday. And sometimes it's just for us to practice the spontaneity of, and watch this, part of what people don't do with their teams is develop, it's literally a team building exercise, developing trust with my team. So I'm going to go off script. I'm going to pull in a chorus from another song in the middle of I Thank God. I'm going to sing it a couple times to let it minister to you. You're going to try it. It's going to hit. And then you're going to be like, oh, okay. So when this dude go off script, God's in that. You feel what I'm saying? So it's a learning thing, but it's developing the understanding with my team that this is a scenario. It's like sometimes I equate stuff to sports, excuse me, but it's like a 2-minute warning. It's like a 2-minute drill. We're gonna practice multiple ways to get to the end zone, to get to our goal, to our destined place, which is the presence of God. We're gonna practice multiple ways to get there, and however God leads us there, my goal is to get some points on the board. You feel what I'm saying? Like, however it happens, my goal is to get us into the presence of God, where the presence of God is so tangible and so manifest that people leave out with the answers that they need. And so I actually rehearse that, so when it happens on Sundays, it doesn't feel foreign to my people.
That's good. I want to elaborate on that real quick. When you said the team is a team building, that's why it's important. Like, even if at your local church, like, you have that team chemistry. I've been at churches where I'll serve a couple Sundays, and you're the Lord is giving you something, and they can't catch it. They cannot catch it and they're missing the moment. But my team that I'll be rocking with, look, the itinerant team that the refreshing, Veronica and I serve together, and we have some other people that are tuned in, and Alex, he knows who all are part. Like, literally, it's so crazy. It gets so crazy sometimes that we're actually telling each other, we're singing it. And like, Joshua come and sing it in my ear, Veronica come and sing it in my ear, or we're singing the same thing, or they hear it and they automatically know where I'm about to go. And it you know what? It just really takes the worship experience to a whole nother level. People don't understand it's more than just singing. Like, it's how you look, it's how your team looks, it's the chemistry, it's the moving, it's the jumping, it's the excitement. It all plays a part in the presentation of what we're trying to give you, and everything is done in excellence. You know, when we're giving back to God, we don't want to give him just anything. You know, we're trying to pour out something that's really precious and intimate to him. And it starts from the whole team as a whole, from the leader to even the musicians. That's another thing. Like, the musicians there should be some color. Y'all should be able to know each other. Like, it's all a team building. It really is. It's all a team. Nobody is better than the other. Nobody is better than the other at all.
And even before you go, Trent, we want to give her confirmation from my uncle, who's a worship leader in his own right, because he's seen the team. And let me tell you something. You talk about somebody who get full.
Oh yes, hi Prophet. He does. He really gets full, but I love it.
Unc is never a visitor at your church or your event. He come right in and get comfortable and let the Lord have his entire way.
Whole way.
No matter where it's at. I'm talking about, look, if you on point, a good way to gauge the purity of your worship, if Irvin Bird is there and he's not moving, something's wrong.
But real talk though, if the worship should activate something, the prophetic flow, something should happen. Something should, oh Lord, I'm about to get real stirred. Something should change and shift. And if it doesn't, and it's not all the time, every Sunday is different, or whatever case may be. But when you can raise a prophet out of their seat because of the worship, and he has to give forth a word, and it ain't even, he was on the program, on the script to say something. That's how worship should be. Things should change. It really should change.
You done started to stir Josh.
Oh,
he said, I love when the saints and the sinners get full. Woo!
Oh,
and
man.
y'all, you had something, Trent, before I go on, because I could already see we getting into the ugly zone, and I love it.
Yeah, so it's two quick things. But Nisi, what you said is so true. Like I was telling y'all, the very last church that I served at, what ended up happening, we all came when they opened a new campus, and the team that they got to lead worship was the team that travels with me. So it was like every Sunday, to the point of like I'm a songwriter. So God would give me songs in service. And it went from, we started with taglines to sometimes I would be singing full verses, choruses, bridges, and vamps spontaneously in worship. A full 5-minute song, and they could just flow with it. Whereas my church now, they are amazing. They are probably some of the most open people in worship. They're not typically accustomed to somebody leading worship them like that with them. So that's even been a teaching thing, because I've had to come in. There's been moments in rehearsal where I've literally had to stop and say, okay, guys, let's talk about what the song of the Lord looks like. What does spontaneous worship look like? Right now in this moment, I am hearing new melodies that God is giving me that are not recorded anywhere. I need for us to develop a place and for us to be so tapped in with each other that the band can follow where I'm going and y'all can follow where I'm going, and we create a moment together. But even what you were saying, this is where I really wanted to get to, about the whole leading worship, it should cause a shift. Part of what I have realized, and I think this is where the pastoral gift of mine comes in with the worship, is a lot of times the people are not ready for it, and it's not the worship leader's problem. We are trying to solve a problem that's above our pay grade.
My Lord.
What has to happen is, watch this. Again, the relationship between pastor and worship, senior pastor, lead pastor, senior pastor, whatever you call them, and worship leader, worship pastor has to be so in sync that the pastor is literally teaching and discipling his church into the next level of worship. Because watch this, it's one thing for you to experience the glory that God has rested on me as a worship leader. It's one thing for you to see it. It's one thing for you to experience it. It's a whole nother thing when you can elevate to that level, because your teaching, your understanding, and the level of revelation you have is in line with what you just experienced. So watch this. You're no longer just shouting and dancing on Sunday because we experienced the new level, but now you're living in it. Because it's deeper than, you shifted and we shifted. No, fam. Because the problem is, I shifted this Sunday, and came Monday, y'all went back to the last gear y'all were in. And now we got to come in and try and create another shift. No, once we get here, we're going to stay here and we're going to live here. And then we're going to try and get here and we're going to stay here and live here. And I can always tell how worship is going to go at a church by the level of expectation I feel in the room when I walk in.
In the room.
You can feel expectation. And if people don't expect God to do nothing, it don't matter how hard I holler, how hard I sing, unless, again, some of y'all got them voices. I think, Nisi, you one of them. I've never heard either one of y'all, but I'm hearing you like to drive. That squall get people up out of their seats. I don't have that squall. So you either going to go with me or you're not. But it's one of those things where now I'm going to lead you in worship. I'm going to do my best. But your worship experience, your personal worship experience, for those of you who are listening, as someone who is not leading worship, is solely contingent upon your level of expectation of what God can do.
The tough thing about hosting is not over participating.
Jump in. Go.
Oh God, no! I got to get Veronica back in.
I'm sorry, I'm talking to
because you. Look, oh God, there's so much. There's so much
right now because I'm new to. For me, worship. All of this is being a worship director is new to me. So I'm a student right now. and I'm totally okay with it.
All right. Well, if you want to chill,
but she's selling herself short, Alex, and you know she is. Because Trent, I've watched her go from a baby to a whole woman in this worship field. And that is what it's supposed to look like. You know what I'm saying? Like some of us were just put out there. Like I come from Church of God in Christ. It was like, look, it's Friday night terror service. You're gonna lead worship. You're gonna do it by yourself, okay? And then you Sunday morning you gotta sing. But then some have to come into that culture and then be taught and or learn on their own. And she is like one that she's one of those people. She takes it all in, and then she just pours it out. So yes, she's new as maybe the leadership role, but she's one that she has grown into that, grown into that area. So don't listen to Veronica.
She got it like the Bible say.
Yeah.
yeah, we're not going to use new. We just going to use the term the least tenured of the ones on here. And even still, you still got more tenure than me. I got fired, so hey, I'm just I'm just here hosting shows now, trying to get information to people to help help them not be fired like I was fired. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I'll tell you what. There was a live stream we did, and I called myself, got up there singing, and I listened back to the live stream, and something between my ear and the microphone wasn't working, so I just talk now. I just talk and play my little bass and mind my business.
Oh, listen. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. I'm sorry, we're gonna have a moment of levity, but there is literally a video that I have tried to report. It's from about 2011, 2012. The man's Facebook is inactive, but the video is still there. I've tried to report it so many times to get it taken down because I sound a whole hot, holy mess. So it happens to the best of us.
It also happens to the worst of us. And on this broadcast, certainly, I am the least of my father's children. So look, I fooled the people in the room, praise God, because in the moment it was great. But then people's probably on that broadcast talking about why is this brother? Get the mic back to Veronica. bring Veronica back out here. So I want to ask anybody who wants to answer. We could start with Nisi this time. When it comes to you've spoken a lot to chemistry and team building. I tried to join the experience, but I think my application got lost. The refreshing, plus my itinerary paperwork's been burned by Love Center Church Melbourne. I can't go nowhere. But how do you, as a leader, intentionally build your team as far as the chemistry that you see come to fruition on stage, whether it be outside of rehearsal or inside of rehearsal? I think Trent's given us some good keys in rehearsal, but outside of rehearsal, what are some things that you do to kind of keep your team on point and keep that chemistry going? Your voice is so much more beautiful when you come off mute.
You're right.
Praise God.
So, believe it or not, between Josh Cleveland, he keep the chemistry going. But no, so I'm going to take it from the moment that we all met, the team that I served with, the moment that we all met, it was a God divine encounter that we met, and the chemistry was automatically there. They were just naturally worshipers. But now as God really really took us, and we just shot off, we just shot up, and God really just took us, and we've been going places and traveling and stuff like that. The way I try to build is we have a group chat, we text each other. Number one, when somebody even if it's as small as the birthday, happy birthday. Even if it's small as, hey, I'm thinking of you. If someone has experienced death, we will go and support and say, hey, you need us? We don't even have to sing, but whatever you need us to do, we're there. Because I think that is important, to have that support on the outside. Because it doesn't mean nothing if we can't even talk to each other and be honest with each other. And then we get up there and we're singing and we don't even know each other. It's one thing if we're, like you say, going out to a different church and we're singing with another praise team and we're using their background singers, but your team as a whole should have a relationship where we can call on each other for anything outside of worship. Okay. It's just not a Sunday morning thing. It's something that we should be able to do throughout the week. Send a text. Veronica and Josh and I, we have our own relationship, but then I have Michelle and different others that I can talk to them and they can talk to me and we can have a conversation and see what's going on. And it's not about just singing. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. One thing I don't like to feel, I don't like to be used. I don't like to feel like I'm used. You only call on me when you need me, or you only call on me when it's time for a big event on Sunday morning or something like that. So I think it is always about just communication, opening up, hearing them out. What are their suggestions? What are, when we're in rehearsal, they'll say, hey, I think you should try this. Hey, well, what about this? And nobody, try to overstep me, if I'm leading that day, whatever. But then we have the understanding, I go like, they probably tired of singing that same old song. So maybe I need to try something different, So yeah, I thank God. Okay, hell lost another one. I do that. All right. So I think it's just outside of it, just building that relationship outside when the microphone is down and nobody is up on stage. We should have that chemistry together. Be able to go out to dinner. Is everything perfect? No. Do we fall out? Do we get aggravated with each other? I'm sure. But at the end of the day, I always tell them, and I said it at a worship service, at the end of the day, we have to stick to the task at hand, what we're coming to do. Communication, like Michelle, I just saw, communication and consistency. I think it works every time. Yeah.
All right, you said something that I kind of want to shift the question a little bit, and I want to get Veronica first, and then Trent, I'm gonna come back to you. But what you communicated was a lot of things that communicate people's value. And you also said one of the things that you really dislike is when you feel like you're being used. With all of us operating in a creative space or having these gifts and talents, I know we've probably all gone through extensive seasons where it seems like we're only being called upon for what we have to offer and not necessarily who we are. So, Veronica, how have you operated and kind of navigated through the seasons where you have to deal with the frustration that comes along with kind of being highly sought after? Because, some people want to get to the point where they got all these events, engagements, bookings, but sometimes they don't really dig into the psychology of, what, all these people are just kind of tugging on my gift, tugging on my talent, tugging on my time. So for those times that you felt devalued, how have you navigated that feeling? And, what did you do to kind of get through it?
For me, my gateway to get through stuff is I'm usually texting Nisi or Josh. I'm being totally honest, because for me, I get in my head, I self-sabotage a lot, and I'll immediately go to our group chat and be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And 20 minutes, all right, all right, we back. And for me, it's you as worship leaders, we have to have that go-to person outside of church, outside your pastors. You have to have that outside go-to person where you can literally go to them and vent your frustrations and allow them And you have to listen to them when they're telling you, hey, this is okay, I get what you're feeling, but let's think about it another way. Or this is what you need to do. Or here, let me help you get through this. You have to have that go-to person that's not at your church, somebody that you can literally confide in. And for me, Josh in the group chat now is saying I do, and it's all the time, and it's sometimes Alex too.
I'm innocent. I'm innocent.
But no, you have to have that go-to person, because I'm gonna say I don't think I would be where I am today as a worship leader if it was not for Josh Nisi and Alex guiding me through it, and God placed in those people in my life. So shout out to y'all.
Awesome. Trent, I want to give you the same one, because I know in your case, especially, it goes beyond even just the worship space, with you being a talented keyboard player, vocalist, preacher, pastor. I've seen you do flyers, you host retreats, conferences. Man, even cooks a bit if you get him in the right mood, man. You just do everything. So as a Renaissance man, when you feel that your values being tugged at constantly, what is your escape? What is the oasis that you go to kind of get your value back where it needs to be?
Okay. I feel Jesus on my back right now. So let me. So first of all, this is a pivotal question for me, because I think this was one of the hardest things for me in my matriculation and growth as a worship leader. Again, I think God intentionally sent me to School of Hard Knocks Worship Leading University for a while, and one of the hardest things is being confident in who God made you. And when I say that is because so often we've created this sense of fake humility, right? Any level of belief in myself, any understanding of who God called me to be is arrogance, is pride, is not who God called me to be. And me being who I am with the gifts that God gave me, I realized that for a very large season of my life, everybody viewed me as the competition. Not a friend, not a counterpart, he's the competition. Even the people that befriended me because I was the competition. And so it was one of those things where I consistently found myself in places where I was asked to be there, I was pulled into being there, and I really, really left out feeling like, why did y'all call me? Why am I here, God? These people, I don't feel love. I don't feel welcome. I'll never forget, we left an event one time, and this was once my wife and I had got married. She left out with tears in her eyes. She said, please don't ask me to come in near this again. And I was like, huh? And she said, you continually come and help these people, and this is so conducive to where God is taking you. And I watch you come here, and you try to cut through this mess, and as after we've sat through 2 hours of these people playing with God, and so it's one of those things where we have to be certain who God called us to be, number one. Second of all is I had to learn that I am not my gift. And nor is my gift the destination of my life. My gift is the vehicle to get me where God is leading me. But I'm still Trent. I'm still valuable. I'm still called. I'm still needed and necessary if I can't sing another note. And it's in that that you also then, I want to stay there, but I'm trying to move. The third thing is not only find your tribe, but feed your tribe. It was in those moments that God really showed me who my people were, right? So I'll never forget. I tagged them in the comments that they're called the Hardaway sisters, and there's a bunch of other folks, but those are some of my closest friends in life, right? But we became that close. I'll never forget one day we were sitting at a friend's Labor Day cookout, another musician friends. We were not super close at that point. One of them sat me down and she said, I just want you to know I see you. So this is what you're talking about. I did not come here to get prophesied to. But she said, I see you trying to remain who you are in an atmosphere that's not conducive to who you are. And I just need for you to promise me that you'll never settle for who they're asking you to be. With tears in her eyes, promise me you won't settle. Promise me you won't settle. Promise me you won't settle. And she said it so many times that it slapped me in the face. So then, okay, so now I went through a couple of iterations of my travel group. They became her sisters. We ended up developing friendships, developing relationships. They ended up becoming part of my traveling group. To now, I live 2 states away from them. And we still talk almost every day. It actually helps because, so watch this. When we were serving at the same church, it actually made a bit of an issue because as the leader, there were certain things I could not share with them that I was experiencing. You see what I'm saying? Because we all serving in the same place. And so now they've stepped up into the role that I had. And it's us now being able to, again, having some good friends that you can get on the phone with and call. My spiritual father always told me, find you some friends who don't live where you live, who aren't associated with the church you're associated with, that you can talk to about when ministry gets rough. And so many days, that group of people has talked me off a ledge, figuratively. I want to stop leading worship. Man, forget this. I'm about to go off on these folk. I'm going to do this. And it's in developing people who have the shared values with you. And those people, it's in the moments that you struggle with who God called you to be, that those people will love you back to who God said you are. And you will literally see and hear the voice and the love of God in the people God has surrounded you with. And so many of us are shut off in developing relationships with other people who do what we do because of the level of competition we've seen in ministry. And so then people try to embrace us, and God tries to send people to us, and we so hurt, we so broken, we've been burned so many times that we're not even open to who God is sending. And so so whoever this is I'm talking to, I need for you to embrace that God is sending people who are here to love you back to health. Because you a worship leader, but you're not well.
Oh.
And God is sending people to love you back to health.
Oh,
And watch this. Folk are pulling on your gift. They're not pulling on your value.
My Lord.
Because your value is so much greater than your gift. If you stopped singing with them today, will they still love you? If not, them ain't your people. But God is sending people who are going to love you back to health. So you can stop. Watch this. It's one thing to be broken. It's another thing to stay broken. God uses moments to break us, but then at some point we've got to let him mend us back together. And he does that through relationship. And so God wants to restore your ability to trust people and know that this time, people are people. You may get dropped, but God ain't going to let you down. And he'll always send somebody else to come and help you put the pieces back together.
I don't know if y'all can tell. I'm literally trying to hold it together because I swear you're speaking to me, sir. I'm just.
Yeah.
The doors of the church are open. Y'all can come. Listen, altar call is near. Okay, it's here. Yeah, that was good.
And sometimes, Veronica, the problem with the process is God is already leading you to a place that the people around you have not matured into yet. And so the Lord will intentionally do things like this to start exposing you to new levels of people who can appreciate you for who you actually are. And so watch this. The task for the worshiper is the task for the worshiper is, can you stay faithful in the seasons where it becomes hard? I promise you, I've been there. I got tears in my eyes with you, because I've been there. As worship leaders, as creatives, we hit seasons where it's just hard. Watch this. I have a spiritual father who passed 2 years ago. Literally, the way God uses me is the epitome of how God used that man. There were even seasons where I felt it was hard to follow him, just because of where God was dealing with me. So seasons get hard with leadership. They get hard with friends. They get hard with family. And the solace that we have is God and I have carved out this place where I can always come meet him. Woo! Where I can always come meet him. I can always show up with him. And every time I open up my mouth, he gonna show up. And watch this. Watch this. Oh, here's the beautiful thing. Other people get to receive their healing while I'm receiving mine. So watch this. Maybe the task, Alex, I'm sorry. Maybe the task in this season is not for you to lead other people into their healing, but for you to allow God to restore you to wholeness in front of them. And they come along for the journey. And as they come along for the journey, as they go, they will be healed. That's it. I'm on mute.
You might as well come off mute because I already know you're gonna come back. All right, I'm gonna try not to prophetically dogpile. I think we've reached a beautiful point, to where I'm gonna ask Nisi now, how did you make it through your most difficult season as a worship leader? You don't necessarily have to go into details about the situation, but whatever space you were in where you found it difficult to continue to lead worship. Because one of the things Trent just said that I think will be powerful for the people watching this broadcast is hearing how somebody goes through a similar process of leading while wounded and worshiping to the point of wellness or worshiping to the point of health, and God doing that on a public stage so that other people can be brought along as well. Because I have a sneaking suspicion, that I'll just call it, that there are more wounded worship leaders than we really give credence and voice to, because the only time we really hear their voice is when they're leading worship. So go ahead.
So there was a time in my life, there was a couple seasons. Number one, we go through those seasons where, like you said, we have been pointed out as the competition, and you're like, I'm really not the competition. I'm actually here to help. Number two, as a worship leader, sometimes you feel like you missed your moment. You see people elevate before you, and you've been in this for so long. You pour, you press, and then you feel overlooked. I've had that happen. And I'm not even going to say now, but because I know who I am now, who I am, and like you said, the confidence that you have in God, it still comes up. And I don't care how I don't know, I don't care what church you serving at and what opportunity you make it, it's still going to come up. But then I had a season in my life where I had to use what I had. I had a baby. If you know my story, we tried for 8 years. Finally got blessed. The Lord gave us our promise. I still had to wait while waiting. Okay. So I had to wait for him to come. I ended up going to premature labor at 27 weeks. And then I still had to wait. I see the promise, but I can't touch it. I can't hold it and I can't take it home. Okay. So as a worship leader, you would have thought that I had the cure to what I was going through, right? I didn't want to sing not one song. I didn't want to hear not one preacher say nothing to me because I couldn't understand. I said, God, I go and I do what you tell me to do, and I pour and I pour. I have poured. I think Prophet Bird, I think he's still on here. The Sunday he ministered to me, I did a tour, and we did the refreshing tour, trying to bring something new to the community. And I literally poured out that night, and everybody looking at me like I'm just crazy. They just, and I poured till I went back to my seat on the train. I don't even know if you ever felt like this. You go back to your seat and you just weep. You feel, it's like you feel what God feels. You kind of like, I know God ain't done nothing for y'all. Y'all sit down on him like this. Like, like, okay. So I cried and I felt like I was raped. Okay. You'll feel that way. And I know that's a raw word, but you feel raped, you feel used, you feel like you're only good for that worship night because they want to add you to the lineup, because they want to see a good lineup. So they add you there because they know they're going to bring the people, or whatever. And so when I was waiting on my son and I could not get to him, I was wounded and I was still trying to worship and be a worship leader. I'm taking everybody else to the presence of the Lord so they can receive their healing. Getting off the stage, going back to my seat, and looking out in the lake outside of my window, thinking postpartum depression has set in. I think I'm just going to go stand by the lake with my baby. But what helped me is, like he said, while worshiping, God set a moment where we thought it was for the people, but it really was for me, for us. And so that is how I navigated through those tough seasons, that I know who I am in God. I know what you have said to me. And we have to remember, as worship leaders, somebody just ministered to me Friday. Your gift cannot be bought. It has to be assigned. And she said that to me, and it really sparked something in me, that I cannot take my gift everywhere because you book me and you give me an offering. But I have to be assigned to that house because there's something that God wants me to do to that particular house or that particular moment. And so I had to get to that point where I just had to know who I am. I had my seasons of not wanting to do it anymore, but I realized that this is who I am. I can't change it. I will not change it. And this is how I get through my battles. I have no other choice but to do it, So it's tough. It is really tough because I feel like we have an important job, as worship leaders next to, I wouldn't say, I'm gonna say it, but it's almost next to the pastor, because a lot of times, 80% of the time, the people are coming for what? The worship experience, the music, and the preaching. They're coming for both. They want a good worship experience and they want a good word. And so we are pushing to prepare for the word, and it gets really, really tough at times. I just had a moment where literally yesterday, was it yesterday, Veronica? I said, I've been going and singing every week, and I've been going and doing this, and now I'm in the ER with my son, and he has COVID. But everybody, they done got what they needed, but I'm home, I'm home nursing my baby back to health, and I'm just, I'm missing work, and my house is going lacking because I've been going different places trying to do my assignment. And so I felt like, but you know what? I had my tribe. They didn't let me waddle in that. They said, I understand, but I understand, but this is what we got to do, so
Whew. My uncle in here trying to stir up trouble again, because he says it's not almost next to the pastor, it's next to the pastor. It's one of the reasons, or one of the many reasons, many pastors fight worship. Now because of the time, we might dive into that one on the next edition. But one thing I know,
yeah, I got in
I
trouble last time when I said something like that.
yeah, because we still got a couple things we need to cover that we didn't get to because I think we ended up where God needed us to get to. And I think tonight was really for wounded worship leaders, because there's more of them than we can imagine. And I saw Trent getting stirred up over there while you were talking again. So before I move on, Trent, I'm gonna ask, was there anything you wanted to add?
Just real briefly, it's so funny. Nisi was talking, and I saw this on my desk. There's a set of wings that my son got last time we went on a flight from Delta, right? And so we travel a lot, and the Lord just gave me this as I saw it. My son was given these wings, but he's not a pilot. And you know how good a pilot is based off how they handle turbulence. You feel what I'm saying? It's when it gets rocky that you understand that this is what they're actually equipped to do. And so sometimes the issue with misidentifying our struggles and our hard seasons is we don't realize sometimes it's God doing a sifting. Because are you really equipped or called if you don't know how to handle the turbulence? Are you really anointed for this if you can't outlast the storm? So you're supposed to sing joy, hope, and peace and deliverance into me and help me get close enough to God where I feel like I can make it through what I'm making it through when you're literally crumbling in what God called you to. And it's a reminder that, watch this, the scripture says whom God calls, he qualifies. So if God has called me to this office, then God has qualified me to handle the storms and the challenges that come with the office that he's called me to. So when I come into hard seasons, it's not a matter of if I get out, it's a matter of when. So my question is, what I have to ask myself is, am I equipped to ride through this turbulence? Because just because my son got a set of wings don't mean he's equipped to drive a plane. He's not equipped to drive a plane. And so many people were given a microphone, but they aren't equipped for storms. And it really reveals if you're a worship leader when you can worship through the storm.
Quitting is not an option for us.
It ain't.
Yeah, my grandma told me, you know, the old saints, they didn't quit when they were over a ministry, or they were assigned to do something that God called them to pastor, or God called, you know, they were the mother of the church, whatever assignment they had, they didn't quit. My grandma said at one mother funeral at my old church, she died and she was over the prayer band. They called it prayer band back then. Now we, you know, now we call it an intercessory team, but they call it prayer band back then. And so she was over the prayer band, and she did it up until she could not do it anymore. And my grandma said, we don't quit, we just die. We just die in whenever God calls them on, we keep doing it until God says, okay, it's time now. But quitting is not, I tell, you know, when some worship leaders, I understand, they'll come and say, I can't do it anymore. I have this, I can't do this. Okay. If sometimes we do need to take a moment, we do need to take a little break. We do need to take a vacation, but we can't quit though, because the kingdom needs us. They really do need us. They need us. So
I'm just really trying to I'm trying to keep it from going to the next place, but I have to shout out my bishop, Gary L. Salter Jr., because a couple months ago he
Come on,
started. Yeah. I was gonna go with the middle name, but we try to keep a little bit of decorum on here. Plus he has the microphone too often, he can get me back. But he started a series for us a couple months ago entitled "Don't Quit," and we've been stuck in it for a while. And when we started it, I was just like, that's interesting. And the way my mind works, whenever he gives us where we're going to be at, scriptures just start pouring in. But it's just amazing to me as the weeks go by and the days go by, you encounter so many people who are on the brink of giving up or who are on the brink of quitting, you know, and it's almost all in the worship space, all in the leadership space, all in the spaces of those who have been called and assigned to do something in the house of God. And even from what we've spent the last probably 30 minutes talking about, it's such a widespread thing that it's really important that we understand the endurance we need and the fortitude we need and the tenacity we have to keep, because to see you all keep going in spite of what's going on in your life is giving people so much hope and giving people so much joy and giving people so much will to keep going that you don't even understand. Because let's just be honest, sometimes people know what's going on with us more than we would like them to. And for them to see us get up there and still give God what he's due, and to still worship at a certain intensity, to still praise at a certain intensity, to still be able to lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily besets us and run with endurance the race that's set before us. So I want to commend everyone on the broadcast here on the panel, but especially you, Nisi, as you deal with the son who's dealing with COVID. We can't decide whether COVID's here, COVID's gone. Well, for us now, we have a very real example that is still here. But we're certainly believing God for your son's full healing and recovery, and for the maintenance of your health, and for the maintaining of everything that you're having to miss out on because of the time that you're spending taking care of him. But I just want us to keep that message of not quitting, because we're getting to the point now where we're gonna have to wrap it up, because we don't want to turn this into a worship-a-thon, or I don't want to keep y'all on here too long. Y'all don't want to come back next time. But I will give y'all, if there's anything you wanted to leave with people, worship leaders, or just people who engage in worship, whether it's from the audience or those who may be in a frustrated space, any piece of advice that you want to leave with someone who may be on the brink of quitting or maybe facing frustration, or anything that you want to leave someone, some final word of encouragement. And if you got a project going or something that's coming, you can go ahead and plug it before we get out of here.
I'll go first, because this is something that I had to learn recently. It's okay to say no, because at the end of the day, you have to take care of you first.
Let me mute my microphone. A yelp almost came out. I forgot I was on. Sorry.
Let me say it again, because I don't think the people heard me. It's okay to say no, worship leaders. It's okay to decline an engagement. If you can't pour from an empty cup. If you are not okay and you ain't got nothing left in you, then say no. Because you can't go to them folks' church and taint their church because you ain't got it in you. So it's okay to say no.
Well, before y'all say no, I just want to I want to say that Josh has already volunteered y'all for a worship night to be determined in 2024. Nisi has already said no with her face. I think I at least got one person. Everybody give it up for Trent.
No, I ain't say no. You know what? I ain't saying no, but see, he'll be the first one to go, ooh, I'm tired.
He is usually the first one that says that.
He usually is the first one to go, but I'm just joking. No, you call, I come. So that's just how they go. But no, I just wanted to thank you for, first of all, having this. I would see your lives, but you came to us and you gave us the vision, and I think we started basically really getting to know each other, because y'all, I'm telling y'all, we were having ministry moments before this. Okay, like our thread was being lit up because like that doggone Pastor Trent over there. Okay. So, but we were actually, and that's good. That's what it's all about, is working together in the kingdom. No competition. Veronica and I know each other, but we had just met Trent literally through this. But we feel like he's already a brother, somebody that we could text, inbox, and stuff like that to get information, and just if we needed some help. But just thank you for having us. I count it as a honor and a privilege that you thought about us. You could have got anybody, to do this. I think the greatest thing about this ministry that we're in, you never can know too much. You're still learning as you go throughout this road and this journey of serving God and leading people into worship. And then you find out, oh God, and then you find out there's another assignment on your life, and it just may not be just a worship leader. Because I feel like every worship leader should be an intercessor too, but we'll get into that later. But however,
episode 2,
Lordy, but that is actually challenging me as a whole, to get more into my word, to pray even the more. It's never too much. So thank you for having this. Is really good. I am so full. The next time, oh gosh, I don't know. Y'all just get me a sheet, and we just gonna let Pastor Trent preach, okay? All right.
What we gonna do to make the next one real dangerous is we gonna do it in person.
Yes. Yeah.
We're just gonna meet over in Orlando or something, and
yeah.
go ahead, get something to eat, make a day out of it.
This was a good free workshop. Amen. Praise the Lord. So I think a lot of people need to hear that. I think at the end of the day, wounded worshiper, don't quit. That's all I got. That's all I got. So God bless you all.
Come get these folks out this comment section.
They requesting song. Look at my wife requesting a song. Next episodes, Josh want to be honored. We just got all kind of things going on out here tonight.
That's hilarious. I'm just gonna say this briefly. First of all, of course, I am always grateful for any opportunity I get to share with worship leaders. This is one of my favorite things to do. I think I actually enjoy doing this more than leading worship. And y'all know I'm super well. Alex, you notice, and y'all are noticing that I get super passionate about everything. So thank y'all for even tolerating me while talking. But just in general, thank you for this opportunity. Also, I just want to publicly do this. So Alex and I are cousins by marriage. I would say over the past, actually the pandemic, he has become that brother for me. When I have days where ministry gets on my nerves, folk make me want to act a fool. And everybody in our family does ministry, but for some reason the Lord knitted he and I together. So thank you for being that brother, for being that sounding board. But I do want to end with this, and I think I just want to piggyback off what Veronica and Nisi said. Not just saying no, but what I want to leave with you is lead well. And so often when we say lead well, we're talking about what we do on stage. But when I say lead well, I mean be well while you're leading. That means understanding saying no, understanding taking vacations, understanding that the less toxic people you allow to infiltrate your day-to-day life, the better you are as a worship leader. So get rid of toxicity. Like, find wholeness, and it will impact your relationship with God and your leading worship so much. Like, you have no idea how much just taking time to just be well. Watch this. And sometimes that means you may need to not just take a Sunday off. You may need to take a season off. It's understanding what God is calling you to. So it's making sure that, watch this, because people who have messy lives often make a mess with a microphone.
Trent.
Yes.
Go ahead. I was quickened and that came out. My finger clicked the button accidentally. Go ahead.
People who have messy lives, and when I say messy, I'm not talking like petty messy. I mean like it's chaotic. They often create chaos with microphones. I'm just being honest, something I've been working on is decluttering my house. I think better when things are in place. So me and my wife are going through and just throwing stuff away. Be well. Be well. The more healthy you are spiritually, emotionally, physically, is going to translate in how you lead your team, how you help them live well lives, and how you help people in your church find wholeness.
I'm probably gonna end up having to preach in my shower or something, just to get rid of all this stuff I done held in this broadcast.
Oh, and you said
talking
events.
about. Oh yeah. Get the event in there, because I'm finna come right back to my little section at your church, hopefully next month.
Yes, so January 17th through 19th, I serve as worship pastor at Bible-Based Fellowship in Tampa. We are having our Equip Conference. It is not just for leaders. It's not just for worship leaders. It is for anybody who calls themselves a Christian child of God, who wants to grow stronger in their relationship with God and how they do ministry. Even if that's marketplace ministry, how you treat your children, whole nine. We are doing classes, state-of-the-art worship, whole nine. Jeffrey Golden from Sunday's Best, Casey J will be there, Dr. Gina Stewart, Bishop John Guns, Bishop Craig Oliver. I'll be teaching some sessions and leading worship. So you can check out the website at myequipconference.com, January 17th through 19th. I would love to meet some of y'all. Come to Tampa. It's fun.
Go ahead and type that, put that in the comment section real quick, cuz. You was gonna say something, Nisi, you can go ahead.
No, he said Tampa's fun. I'm like, is it really?
Tampa is literally
You
one
gotta
of my.
get on the right side or something.
So hold on. Are you a South Florida person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Port St. Lucie.
Tampa is literally one of my favorites. Even before I moved here, it's one of my favorite cities in the country. Tampa is a vibe. There's just enough to do. And I came from Atlanta. I love Tampa so much more than Atlanta. And then now Tampa has also almost doubled in size in the past 5 years.
Okay.
So it's the more you get around, but no, Tampa is a vibe. Next time you come, I'm gonna grab the wife and we just gonna go party.
Yes.
For Jesus. Don't think we heathens.
All right, I had to make sure. I thought Veronica got quickened. It just fell right on off the broadcast.
It got hot, and it was like, ma'am, unplug me, and it froze on me. My bad.
I'm gonna give one last shout out. I don't know what's going on for Patrick, the homie. There was some stuff he said about Nisi up early in the chat as well, but we'll get to that after the broadcast. I don't co-sign this comment. I have me a good time in Tampa. That we're not gonna finish the worship broadcast we're talking about. So I want to thank all y'all who have hung with us for this episode of From Sinner to Saint, aka Worship Now. I want to thank this awesome panel once again. Y'all have blown my mind, and I'm full, I'm stirred in every other holy word you can think of to describe. What did our hearts not burn? Did our hearts not burn? But oh goodness. But if y'all if my panel could stick on here with me for a minute after we end, just want to give y'all a couple more things before we go. But for the rest of y'all, thank y'all so much. And we got some exciting things coming for you in the near future. Just make sure that you like and follow the From Sinner to Saint page so you can stay in tune with what we do. And if you don't, I'll be sharing it anyway. But we really could use the promo, so we appreciate it. God bless y'all. Have a good night. We love you. Appreciate it.